Hello, everybody. We'll give everybody a minute. Hope you guys are all doing well. Hi, Shelly. We have a cute little card with some mixed media that we're going to do today. Hi, Raquel. How are you doing? Hey, Tammy. These cute little mammoths were just so adorable. I actually had to make a second card. I know, so much fun, Raquel. And I thought we'd try a little bit of a fuzzy technique for coloring these guys. I am very good. I feel like I've been very busy this week, but I think it's because I was rearranging my craft area, and it's good. I feel like I've got some headway into reorganizing my craft space. Hey Sheila. But just it takes time away from those regular things that you do, and so it's like, oh no, I don't have time to do all this other stuff. But it's all good. We have this fun Picket Fence Studio Slimline Waves stencil that we're going to look at. And I used some Distress Oxide in some pinks, and that's Abandoned Coral. Organizing small scrap spaces. Mine is not big. I have totally been binge watching craft room makeovers. So I find that if I have YouTube on and I've got craft makeovers on, yeah, it's great, hey? Then a lot of times I'll pick up things here and there, like, oh, I'd like to do that. And then I do one thing, focus on one thing, whether it's, reorganizing my paper or something. And then I find I'm inspired to do the next thing. So that's what I'm trying to be doing this week. And it definitely has helped to just keep the motivation going, to keep organizing. Hey, Michelle, how are you? This is one of the extra cards that I made just because these little guys were so cute, and I wanted to play around with embossing with a stencil. And then there's some fun things you can do with this white ink spray from Avery Elle. This is the first time I've played with it. I usually search up some YouTube videos just to see what people are doing with it. I can't find really much other than, people are spraying it and getting some cool background effects. So I did it on the craft here, which I really like. And then this paper here, so last week we looked at the Craft Consortium paper that looks like alcohol ink. And I splattered that as well, which I think is a very cool effect. Hi, Carrie. So I will show you the goodies here, and then we will get to making the card. So we've got the Mama Elephant Mammoth Love stamp. These guys are so cute. Are they not sweet or what? They look fuzzy. Hey, Lorraine. Michelle, I'm doing great. We even got all these little hearts. These guys have some coordinating stamps, or sorry, dies to go with them. So those are new in the shop, Mammoth Love. Then there's this heart grid cover, which I didn't cut, but it looks amazing. And then you'd be left with all these die cut hearts, and you've got the stitching line on the outside. I think that would be really fun. I love hearts. Thanks, Rosie, for linking that. I've got this Nuvo glue pen that I thought we'd try out today. This is the medium flat tip, and this isn't a new product, but it's back in the store, and I thought this would be fun to try out. I tried a little bit. It seems to go on really smoothly. So that's the Nuvo glue pen. Then we've got the Avery Elle White Ink spray, which I think there's lots of cool effects. I'm going to have to research more. This slimline cloud coverage stencil, of course, clouds are always amazing. Sorry, you can see my lights there. So you've got big puffy clouds, and then you can use the edges, and this one has smaller clouds there. And there's just a lot of real estate here that you can use for these clouds. So if you have your slimline card, you're going to be able to use it and keep pulling it down and add clouds either vertically or horizontally. And you could do rainbow clouds, you can do blue clouds, you can do clouds in any way that you want. Then we have the slim line wave stencil, which I showed you here, and I kind of used Distress Oxide and did a bit of an ombre effect, which I think is cool. You could lay a sentiment across. Of course, you can do this as a wave background. I did the blue here. I actually embossed with it, and we're going to do that today. And then I went over it with Distress Oxide and kind of that ombre effect as well, and did a blue background, but you could totally have it as an underwater scene. That would look really cool as well. And then I even used it to put on some of the Gina Glitz glitter gel. This is the blue, so this is new. There's probably maybe 7 or 8 different colors in the shop. There's a couple new colors that are in right now, and the one that says blue is the one that is in the new products. Hey, Danielle. And then, of course, well, I cut this apart so it would fit in my bin, but we've got this Picket Fence die cutting system, which is really fantastic, and that's what I use to cut out the outside and inside images, and then the circle. Let's see here. What I thought we would do first is I'm going to pull in my stuff so we can make this card. So I've got all my pieces cut out here. I've colored one little guy, and I'm going to show you how to do like a little bit of a fluffy coloring technique in case you want to just change up your coloring a little bit. It's really easy, and he looks really cute and fluffy. So I have my card base. So I've cut this card base to 7.5 wide by 8 3/4 long. So 7.5 on this way by 8 3/4. And I find that fits really well the Picket Fence. Now, depending on which slimline, if you're using a die, then you'll want to just check your measurements. But I also find it helps if you just jot that down and put it with your dies, and then you don't have to figure out how to cut it every time. So we have this blue cardstock that we're going to glue on here, and we will try out this pen. So what's everybody been up to this week? Just same. Have you done any crafting? Are you making any Valentine cards? This could totally be a Valentine card, or it could be something, just sending someone some happy, fuzzy, warm wishes. So with this pen, it says shake it first, and then I had to prime it just to start it. So I've got a scrap piece here. So all I did was hold it down and press. And obviously once it's primed, you don't want to hold it down because you'll get a blob of glue. But while you are trying to prime it, that's how you prime it. You just press it down until you see the glue start to come out. So then what you can do is just run the glue tip across, and you can see it just leaves a film. It really seems quite easy. And I'm not pressing it down, I'm just rubbing it across the surface. You've been working in your Creative Jumpstart 21 assignments. Nice. And birthday cards. It is always good to have extra birthday cards on hand. My family has all our birthdays from like December to the maybe mid-April, end of April mostly, or sorry, end of March mostly, and then there's one in April. But everybody's kind of jammed right into that 5-month period, and then there's like nothing. So I need a whole bunch in between there. So I just pressed that on. Let's let that dry a bit, and then we'll make sure that's not coming off. Then we have our background piece in white. So that was cut with the smaller Picket Fence. And then the same size cut with the rectangle from the Picket Fence die. And then I used the stitched circle. So you can see that it has a really nice stitching line. Hey, Christy. And it leaves a stitching line around the outside, and then you've got the circle on the inside. So I made some little marks because what is Creative Jumpstart 21? Rosie is asking, and I actually don't know either. So yes, Raquel, tell us what it is. It sounds very creative. So we're gonna put our, actually before we do this, we're gonna do this step. We're gonna emboss first, and then we're gonna do our glitter gel so we can throw the stencil in the water and rinse it off. So in order to emboss with your stencils, it's really easy, and you get a pretty light effect. Like this one, because we've added the ink, it actually does look quite detailed. And this one looks a little softer because we didn't add that oxide ink over top. We are going to use our pixie spray, and I'm not sure, Rosie, is this still in the store? I'm just shaking it back and forth to make sure it's shook up. I can't actually remember if you're supposed to shake it. Then we are going to take our shoebox cover, and it doesn't really matter which side you put this on. We're going to give it a good spray, and then we'll just set that aside for a second. So that's going to just give us a little bit of adhesive tack. And I usually just give the nozzle a wipe, though I don't know if you really have to do that. Oh, good, it's still in the store. Raquel said, started January 1st till February 14th, new mixed media teacher each day. Oh, that sounds so fun. And then videos that explain how to make the project. What a great way to get familiar with your mixed media supplies, hey? So we've got our pixie spray on here. It just gives a light tack. And then we're just gonna place this on. And this is just helping to keep it from moving. If I didn't have that, I would probably put a little bit of washi tape on there. Then I'm just taking my Cuttlebug plates, and I have this embossing mat. So I'm just laying it on, and because this is longer than my mats, I'm going to run it through halfway, come back, and then move that stencil and paper so that I get the other side as well, so that the full thing. So I'm running it through as I would an embossing, a regular embossing folder. So there's, but I've got that embossing mat in there. So the mat kind of is the folder. And I'm just gonna carefully kind of move it up so we can get the back. And if I'm die cutting as well, I'm gonna do the same thing. And if you have a bigger, like a big shot, then of course you don't need to do that. Okay. So we've got our embossed card background, and that pressure kind of gets it to stick on, but it comes off totally fine. It just pulls off. And then we have this really cool textured paper that we're left with. Now, because we have this already, let's do our white spray, then it can dry a little bit before we put on our background. And I just realized I did not bring my heat gun, so we'll hope that this dries fairly quickly. So I had all my craft supplies upstairs in my kitchen, and I've just been crafting on my dining room table for like a year. And I decided I would take everything back downstairs to my craft room, which is great, except I'm kind of in between. Some stuff is still up here and some is down. So here's the white ink spray, and I thought this looked really fun on, especially on a dark or a craft. Natalie Callback is the host. I'm gonna have to check that out for sure. So it just gives you a really pretty, subtle effect. And let's try it actually on, so it's gonna obviously show up on darker better than lighter. Now this would be the regular color, and then you've got this subtle color, subtle white when you spray it, and then you can also splat it and have the splatters. No, Sheila, I'm sure you're not the only one. So I think that's really cool. Very cool for like a night sky or snowy sky. And then I would just take a wipe, and just like any other spray, I just usually wipe off the nozzle just to make sure there's nothing that's going to stay in there. Then we're going to get out our Glitz glitter gel. So let's move this over. So you know what, I really want to make sure it sticks on really well. So I'm going to give this just another shot of my Pixie spray. It probably is fine. It does work for a few applications, but I just want to be sure, just because the openings are a little bit wider in this and I don't want anything to move around. So I know my circle is here, and I kind of want that glitter gel in there. So I'm just gonna stick this down, and you can see like it comes off easily, but it holds it enough that, especially if you have something that has a little bit bigger openings, you're not gonna get a bunch of shifting. And here in the sample card, I just did the blue. So I pulled out my iridescent, and I thought we'll try and see how combining them works. I think it'll look cool. So I've got this Score Pal It helps you put on your paste. And then I just grabbed one of these little palette knives. So we'll put on, maybe we'll do the iridescent first just because it's lighter. So what I want to do is I'm going to lightly put this on the top. And I'm just kind of lightly pressing it. And then I'm going to use this, I can't remember, Rosie, what is it called? Is it, I said Score Pal, but it's not Score Pal. Okay, so I'm just pulling it forward, and then anything that's left, I'm just going to scrape back into there. Stencil Pal, that's what it is. Stencil Pal. Then we've got this blue. It's such a gorgeous blue. Here, let's zoom in a little bit so it's easier to see. Okay, so you can see we've got the iridescent over the top. Yeah, something. It's a pal, right? And then this is it's a glittery texture. The glitter doesn't rub off, but it's quite fairly creamy. You can spread it on very easily. Okay, then we're going to put this on. You can hear that glitter in there. And then we're going to pull this. And if we want, we can pull it into that iridescent a little bit. So I think that will look cool. And if there's a little bit of iridescent, it's very light, and we're not going to worry about that. We could, if you were doing it the other way and did your blue first, you would definitely not want to get that mixed with your iridescent. Otherwise, your iridescent would turn blue. So I'm just wiping this off, wiping this spatula off, and just make sure you close everything up nice and tight. And then you can just pull this off. So this actually looks really cool. I'm going to put this in some water because we don't want it to harden on there. And you can see there's the iridescent at the top, and then we kind of brought that blue into it. It looks really pretty. Like, it's so sparkly. It's even more sparkly in real life, but you do get a pretty good glimpse of that sparkle. So you could go ahead and you could do your whole panel in that. You could mix any of your pastes with that. Would look beautiful. So while we're waiting for that to dry, yeah, I love that blue. It's so nice. You could totally use it for wintry effects, underwater. Really nice. So we're gonna grab these guys, and I'm gonna show you just a quick coloring technique. So I've got 3 markers here. If you had 3 different shades of gray, if you want to do gray, or you could do the same thing with a brown or whatever color you decide you want your little mammoths. Maybe they're brown. I don't know, I made them gray. You could do a warm gray, and then you have more of they kind of almost look like an elephant like this, hey? Maybe we should try them in brown and just see. So for the gray, I used N0, N2, and N4. And you know what? We're just going to try it and see what happens, because then we'll know. So I grabbed E59, E37, and E33. There are tons of Copic colors in the Scrap Shotz store. If you're looking to start collecting some Copics or expanding your collection. So in order to get this kind of furry look, Now, I don't know how well you can see this. I'm going to try and zoom in. Okay, so all I'm doing is dotting, and it's not as quick as just coloring and blending, but it's very easy. And it just gives a really cool effect. So we're going to have one little gray mammoth and one little brown one, which I think will be cute. So all I'm doing is going around the edge where I would add the shading, and then I'm adding these little dots. Yesterday I had glitter all over me, but I think I've been a little more careful here today. I actually have had that iridescent one for quite a while. I've used it quite a bit, and it's about halfway used up, but I've got a lot of use out of it. So just dabbing, and we can go back and add more. So he looks like he's got some chicken pox or something. Then we've got E37. And we'll do this. So you could do any of your little critter stamps. I don't often think to do this, but I knew I wanted these guys to look a little bit fuzzier. And it's kind of a neat way to just do something a little bit different. So we just keep adding those little dots around the edge. And I'm not even going all the way to the edge. I'm not worried if there's a few little white spots at this point, because we'll fill those in with the lightest marker. And because your lighter marker has a little bit extra blending solution in, that's when you're gonna see that blending happen. So we'll bring this in most of the way. And then we'll go to this E33 and do this. And then I found when I was coloring them, they almost looked a little kind of weirdly blotchy until I let them sit for a while. So you almost had to do it and then walk away and see if it turned out the way that you wanted. So a little bit longer, but very easy and kind of fun. I think if you wanted to let your kids try this as well, this would be fun for them and they'd get a fun little effect. So is anybody planning on doing some crafting over the weekend? Do you have any specific plans? So he's looking very, very fuzzy. And you can see you get a deeper color with Copics as you layer them. So he's looking kind of cute, and we can always go in. I mean, if you hated it, you stamp another one and color it differently, but we can always go in and add more color as well. And this is our lightest color, so then I would just go even a little bit outside the lines on those areas where he's fuzzy, where you can see his little hair sticking out. And then he looks even fuzzier. So as you go over, you can see it darkens it up a little bit. And it's just something fun to try. I think he looks pretty cute. Vicki Bouton's Friday Night Live. Yes, that's so awesome, hey? She always is creating something fun. So that's this little guy. I think he looks pretty cute. He started off looking a little rough, but he's cute. And then I would just go in with my, I've got this R20. And we could even, I don't know how well this will show up. It shows up on the gray, his little cheeks. Not really, we could go, well, a little bit. We could go in with a darker pink if we wanted, but you can see his little cheeks there. So that is pretty much all. You could go in with, and do that technique with all of those stamps on there. Let me just pull out that stamp set again. Here, we'll zoom out a bit here. So these guys are so cute. And you could do this for lots. I even think baby cards would be cute. Little missing you cards would be really cute. Okay, I don't know how dry this is, but we're gonna, it's a little bit wet. We're gonna put it together carefully. You're gonna organize and finish some partly done projects. Nice. Yes, I am finding, as I'm cleaning my craft space, I'm finding some projects that I need to finish up. So they're going in a pile right now. Okay, so we're gonna, yeah, it's very cute, hey Lorraine? And they're not really doing people things. They're just hanging out, like they're just mammoths. I'm just gonna touch this lightly. It's still a little bit wet, but we're gonna go for it. Normally you should let this dry a little bit longer. Okay, we're gonna use our pen. This has a nice little chisel tip, which is actually, I really like. And you don't get a whole lot, but it seems to stay, like you've done, it's not gloopy, but it's staying wet long enough that you can adhere your paper. And I don't really want to press that down because you know what's going to happen. Maybe if we, okay, I have a piece of scrap paper here. Hey Stacy, we're attempting to glue something with wet glitter glue on it. So normally I would press this down and put it under something. You know what? It's just not gonna press down right now, and I'm gonna regret that. So I'm gonna let that dry, and I am going to go back. Yeah, Stacy, it's the blue Glitz glitter gel. It's so gorgeous. And then we put the iridescent on the top. So afterwards I will glue it. You would glue that down. Then you're gonna stick this on. So we can do our top piece, and then I will go back and stick those together after. So we've got these cute little guys we're gonna put on here. And we are going to use some Distress Oxide to stamp our sentiment. So let's move this over. I even colored and cut out some little hearts. The hearts were in the stamp set. The blue is gorgeous, like it's very pretty blue. Okay, let's put that there. So you've got I Woolly Love You. So cute. I will always be by your side, and sending you some warm fuzzies. Any of these would be so cute. Okay, so we're going to put that on here. And if you haven't used Distress Oxide for stamping, it actually works really well. This one is Faded Jeans. Elderly Stickles? Do you mean the Stickles glitter? I think that's what you mean, Katie. If there's a new product called Elderly Stickles, you know we want it. All right, so we're gonna, yeah, any of the glitter gels or pastes, or they'll all work like that. And I know those Stickles have some of the pots now, which would be beautiful as well. And combining them always is nice. I think I have a jar of one of the Stickles, and I'm gonna have to actually look for it now that you mentioned that. All right, so we've got that stamped on there. And the oxide just does a really nice job. You do have to let it dry for a minute. And then here's our little glue pen. This is very precise, actually. Okay, well, got that glued on. And I glued this directly down, but I'm gonna pop up the little mammoths. So we'll add a little bit of foam tape. Which I did not grab. Here we go. So normally our panel would be on here. It is almost dry. And I have to get the backing off this foam tape that I grabbed. The backing does not come off very easily. Okay. So we'll position these guys. I like that they have two little guys facing each other. I may have put that up too far. Put some right by his feet so he'll stick there until we get that panel stuck on. I think it's always fun to play around with these stencils, and you actually surprise yourself when you try them out with different color combinations. Like this one here, I just love. All right, so we're gonna place this on just to give you an idea, but I'll go back and glue it when everything is completely dry. I love the way this kind of faded out into that iridescent, and even like a lighter blue would look really pretty as well. There's a gold in the store that I think would look absolutely beautiful. Okay, then we have these little hearts. So we're just rubbing that glue on the back, and then we'll position these on. And if you want a little bit extra glue and you just kind of hold it there and rub, the glue actually does come out and give you an extra bit of glue. These guys look so cute. So yeah, you could totally do Valentine's, but it doesn't scream Valentine's. Could be anything. Thanks. Yeah, it's a nice difference from the full effect. I like that too. We'll put this little one over here, and then I grabbed some of the Dream Drops that are still in the store, as well as this White Blizzard, which is my favorite. You can see I've almost worn off the label. This is the Nouveau Glitter Drops in White Blizzard. And then we've got the Dream Drops, which are iridescent. Okay, thanks Raquel for stopping in, and have a great night. Have fun with your class. This one is the Love Potion Dream Drops, and this one is the Cloud 9 Dream Drops. So we'll pretend this is glued down. It might be, you know what, it might be okay to glue it now. I think it is. It's still a little bit damp, but we're gonna try it again. Now, because it is a little wet, it's a tiny bit warped, and we may have to put a little bit extra, like the art glitter glue on there, but we'll try it. Dream Drops. Isn't it cool, Michelle? Like, how could you not love Dream Drops? Okay. Then we are going to use a little bit of this art glitter glue just because we're going over the glitter, and I really want to make sure that it stays. But I'm very happy with that Nouveau glue pen. The top of my glue is a little bit gummed up. Hang on. There we go. So I'm just adding extra glue because I want it to stick to the glitter. Because you know, if you're gluing like something on glitter paper, you need a little bit extra sticking power. And I just flicked my sentiment off. There. This has a bit of texture as well, so you're just gonna have to play around, make sure that you've got everything stuck down. Okay, so there we've got our cute little card. We've got our hearts on. We're going to use the White Blizzard, and we're going to put that right on the little hearts, to give them a little bit of a glittery effect. And then we'll go in with our Dream Drops. These are really, really cool and really easy to get a nice rounded effect. So this one is the cloud and it's nice and white. So wherever you'd add like some sequins, you can add them. And I have a whole video that we did on a whole bunch of swatching out these colors. And then last week we used the lemon, which is new. And I think I put my finger in that. So, you know, we're just gonna roll with it. Yep. It is actually on my hand, so you can embellish yourself if you want. We'll add a little bit to this just to fix it up. And these are self-leveling, so you don't have to worry about tapping them or anything. And I really need to go in, I think, with some extra glue because I tried to glue that when it's still wet. However, you do get the idea. The lemon is so pretty, hey? So that is a look. And if I thought, Rosie, I saw the glue pen in the store, but if not, we'll figure out, we'll get that in there. So that's a look at our card. This is the one with the full blue, and then we have the kind of variegated color with the iridescent. And there you go. And this is our other little one with this cute little guy and the same kind of dotted effect. And that was the Slimline Wave stencil that we used, as well as that Picket Fence Slimline die cutting system. That there is a bazillion ways that you can put this together, and all those other fun little goodies. Yeah, we'll link up that glue pen as soon as we find that. And yeah, I hope you guys have fun. Have a good crafty weekend. Have fun playing if you have something specific you're doing or making. And hopefully you just get some time to relax and enjoy playing with your products. If you are looking for anything, make sure you can message us, tag us if you're commenting so that we see your message, and feel free if you have any questions. We would love to help. So have a really awesome day, and thank you so much for stopping in and crafting with me. I'll talk to you next Thursday. Bye.